Now, I wonder if any of these people at this table knew that I came from 250 chips. I mean, I wonder if that would affect the way they perceive my play at all. I have a pair of eights, very legitimate raising hand. Get any action? No. Fair enough. Just keep the pressure on. Just keep raising. Keep raising where you can, and just steal. Especially when these big chips. Again, my king rag, king 10, king jack. I just really don't like to play those hands. I mean, again, there hasn't been anything particularly tricky that I've been doing. It's just been a lot of pressure and aggression. All right, it's just been putting people to the test. There's not been a lot of trickiness. Like, I have ace king suited, and I raise pretty much like everybody would, and people fold. You just have to know, when it's worth making steal type plays versus when it's worth just playing your cards and playing your position. And we've basically done nothing tricky. We've basically done nothing tricky this entire tournament. Okay, speaking of something tricky, what do we got here? We got an under the gun +1 who open pushes for 15,000 chips. Comes around us, we got ace 4. I know people that'll make this call. This is the analysis you have to go through when you make a call like this. All right, first of all, what does he have to have? Okay? Does he have to have a good hand here? Well, I contend that he does, because, yeah, he is only raising 7.5 times the big blind or 5 times the pot. But think about what's happening. He is raising the big stacks blinds, and he's doing so from a very, very early position. Now, this is a recipe for having a big hand, because you're not going to attack a huge stack, especially from out of position, when you just don't have a big hand. So here, ace 4 is just going to be, it's just a clear fold in my opinion. Now the big joke I make sometimes when I talk to backs is he's like, "You fold ace 4 there?" And I say, "Of course I fold ace 4. I fold ace 4 so that on the next hand I can raise with 2-4." Okay. Now, again, just because I folded to this guy's one all in doesn't mean that I'm going to be done I'm going to be done putting pressure on. So you got this guy who comes in for 5,000, and I have, I don't even know if I looked at my hand this time. It happened to be 2-4. It could have been ace 8. It would have been the same thing. I still would have been probably folding to a re-raise here. Okay, if I raise and he pushes all in. So you know what? I'm in the small blind. What's the worst that can happen? Worst that can happen is he has something, comes over the top, and I fold. All right, you just got to keep applying the pressure. And I think the key here, did I show the 2? I actually might have shown the 2-4. I was so pumped that I had come from this far back and had such a big chip lead. I probably just got my own. The entertainment value of it kind of overshadowed. The real truth is that you should not be showing your cards. But I'm pretty sure that I showed the guy. I showed the guy the 2-4. And usually when you do things like that, when you rub it in, when you show the 2-4, bad things usually follow. Okay. So let's see here. I have ace jack. The guy pushes all in for no chips. Okay. This is a standard type play. Everybody has to understand. I have ace jack, which is an okay hand, not a great hand. But you have this under the gun +1 guy who open pushes for basically just one big blind. Okay? And he doesn't have to have anything. So this other guy who throws his 2,072, he really doesn't have to have anything either. As a matter of fact, if he had anything, he's supposed to isolate and raise him to trap that money in the pot to scare other people off, and that's exactly what I do. I raise and I just trap that money in the pot, and even if the first guy has something like he does, he has ace queen, worst case is that I'm still getting tremendous pot odds because I got that other player's money in the pot as well. In any case, I did lose the hands. Again, nothing fatal. I lost like 2,100 chips in total in that hand. So we basically got a whole lot of nothing again. King Jack again, my favorite hand. Now, certainly facing a raise and an all in, we're definitely not we're not calling there. Oh, Ace 3 and Ace 9. Oh, yuck! These are the hands that got all in from early position. Oh well. Oh man, and the Ace 9 re-sucks out on the Ace 3. Two, whole lot of crap. There you go, Ace Rag. Okay, we want no part of this. Okay, I know people will be tempted to say, "Whoa, the guy only made it 2 times the big blind. Why don't you just see the flop with Ace 6?" Okay, great. So I see the flop and an ace comes. Terrific. And what do I do then? All right, probably kill myself. So you don't want to, you don't want to play these Ace Rags. You just don't want to. I mean, you can raise with them but only because you think people are going to fold. You know what I mean? Like, you should really treat them like 3 deuce. All right, so now we have a pair of 2s, and in a similar situation, you have the under the gun +1 guy who is open pushing for no chips. He's open pushing for two times the big blind, and we're certainly going to isolate at this point. We're not going to call anybody's raise of this guy, but you got the guy to our left who's got 12,000 chips. We're not afraid of him either. We're gonna plow our chips in here, 100 times out of 100. And he's got Ace 5. Let's see if we can win a freaking race here. 2. We caught the 2. Sweet. Oh, damn it. So it's you make the right play and you just lose. It's no big deal. Let's kind of take stock of where we are here. We're on hand number 234, and we're at the final table. There's 6 people left, and do we still have the chip lead? No, we are actually the co-chip leader with player 8. So he's right there. He's a little bit to my left. So let's see what develops. Okay. We've now lost the chip lead. We haven't lost it, somebody else gained it. A little different. Ace 4, we raise, everybody folds, no problem. Alright, so we figure we haven't raised in a while, we haven't put any pressure on anybody in a while, so we're probably going to do something sometime soon. We don't need to call raise with King 6 though. Okay, now here's a very speculative play by us. The guy makes it 2.5 to 3 times the big blind, total all in with Queen Jack. We have 9-10, which is really a crappy hand, but again, he doesn't have to have anything. Okay, as a matter of fact, he kind of has to raise here with anything. So we're getting a lot of odds here. We're getting 3,000 plus our small blind that's in there. We're getting a lot of odds here. Now, I guess I probably could have just raised with the 9-10 rather than just calling with it and inviting the other guy in. But I opted to just call and we'll see what happens. I'm getting a lot of odds here to knock a player out. Let's see if the poker gods are on my side. You know what? The poker gods have spoken. It was a lousy play. Okay. So in any case, now we're down to 86,000. We played, we're getting a little tired. We're playing, not actually playing our best probably at this point. But you know what? You don't need to play your best when you have a zillion chips. Okay, you can make a couple of mistakes and you can still survive. No problem. The old Jack 9 versus Ace King matchup. All right, let's talk about this final. Let's talk about this final table for a second. Okay, we're down to 4 people, and the setup that you are looking for when you're at a final table, or at any table, to be honest, is you want to have your short stacks to your left, and you want to have the big stacks to your right. You want to be able to always be able to attack that guy to your left with impunity, and you want to be able to get maximum value out of your big hands when you get raised by the guy on your right. So you typically want the guy on the right to have as many chips as possible to donate to you. So this is a very this is not the best situation for me right now, and there's nothing that I could have done about it per se. Actually, there are things you can do about it, but that's a totally other lecture. And now we're sitting here, we're 4-handed, we're on hand number 242. And we just got to keep the pressure up. So we raise with 9s. Guy pushes. Seems like a pretty easy call for me there. I mean, 4-handed for me to fold 9s for another whatever. Still getting okay odds. And 4-handed, I got to think my 9s are probably the best hand anyway. So we made the move with Ace 10. Reasonable, I suppose. And the 9s hold up. Okay, so now on hand 243, what do we have? We have 111,000 to 143 to 62. Okay, so kind of see where things are headed here. Let me see what happened. I'm sorry. Let me just go back to that hand. Yeah, they kind of got the blinds a little bit screwed up in party. I was in the big blind and got a walk there, so they're going to actually straighten that out as we progress. But I am on the button and I do fold. that is for sure. The King 2. Okay, I have a pair of 2s. Very, very easy fold in that spot. Again, these small pairs you definitely do not want to be calling with. Okay, I mean, unless it's a very, very, very small stack. I mean, and the guy open pushes for 10 big blinds. That's not an overtly, it's not an insignificant amount of money. And again, you're calling with 2s. What do you want to see? I mean, I suppose you want to see 2 overcards, but if you don't see them, you're dead. I mean, you only have 20%. So you just never want to ever be calling with these small pairs. Got nothing. All right, A7 3-handed, very easy hand to raise with. And now, remember, we're talking about 3-handed now. Ace rag is a premium when you're 3-handed. 7-3 we don't need to deal with, especially because the raise and a re-raise all in. King 9, just keep the pressure on. You're on the button. Just keep raising and raising and raising and putting more pressure and more pressure and more pressure. I mean, I have this image now, and one of these days I'm going to get a big hand and I'm going to get paid off. I mean, I just raised too much for this not to be the case. Pair of 5s, easy. This is pretty easy play. The guy raises, I re-raise him from the small blind with a pair of 5s. Again, pairs are very, very valuable when you are, one, raising with them, and two, when you're short-handed. I mean, pairs are made hands, and when you're three-handed, it's going to be tough not to raise or not to re-raise with those fives in that spot. Okay, I actually ended up, you know what I ended up doing? I ended up doing exactly what I was supposed to do the first time. Remember I talked about when I had those jacks several times, several hours ago, that when you have these pairs, it's sometimes a good idea to flat call from the blinds. Because again, like you want to reduce the hand to a 3-card hand. And, if you had an ace-king or an ace-queen, you're more inclined to raise because you're looking, to see all 5 cards. And, you re-push all in and you get called, you're going to get to see all 5 cards for better or for worse. When you have a pair, you don't want to, you do not want to necessarily see all 5 cards because you have your made hand already. I mean, you're not playing a pair of 5s because you think it's going to improve. You're playing the pair of 5s because you don't think that the other player is going to improve. So here, instead of re-raising, what I just did was I just basically did a stop and go. I flat called and I bet out 34,000. And you know what? I probably would have done this pair of 2s, pair of 3s, pretty much any pair there. I'm going to make this play with. And he folded. He could have had 6s. He could have had 7s. So that stop and go play when you have a pair is very useful indeed. Keep the pressure up. Keep raising. Queen 6. See what happens when you start re-raising people with 4-2? Is you get people sometimes giving you a walk because they're afraid of you. We'll give them one courtesy walk. Again, you don't want to get too predictable because again they're going to get sick of you and they are going to play back at you eventually. Let's pause this just a second. Oops, we can play a little bit. King 8, we get another walk. Ace 10 in the small blind. We're certainly raising here. Actually, you know what this was? This was actually kind of interesting. I have to think that this was actually a misclick by me. I would very rarely, if ever, limp in from the big blind, limp in from the small blind with Ace 10. I mean, especially I've just been raising and raising and raising and raising. I doubt that this is what I had in mind. So instead, what I ended up doing is limp re-raising, and then what I ended up doing is limp re-raising, and then he called the re-raise. So from one misclick, we end up getting a whole crap load of chips in the pot pretty quickly. So now I kind of made my mess. I have to lay in this, okay? So now the board comes Jack 2-6, and since I've made since I've done a limp re-raise in this spot, I mean, and called his re-raise, I mean, I'm representing a big hand, and he is going to have a really tough time, with a continuation bet in this spot. So I just came right out betting, and he folded. And that's a really, really, really big hand for me. But this is definitely not the way that I intended it. I probably would have just raised with the hand, but I'm pretty sure that was a misclick. King 9, we get a walk with King 9, very nice. $261. Oh, we got hand 261. We give him one courtesy walk. At 262, now we're in really good shape. We raise and we get a caller, and the flop comes Queen 6-2. All right, so what do we got going here? We raise. We finally got a premium. Now remember what's happened so far. We have been relentless. We've raised and we've showed 2-4. You know what I mean? We've been very, very aggressive here. So we make some standard raise from the button. All right, we happen to have queens, but there is no way that they can put you on a pair of queens, considering how aggressively you've played. And this is where you get to reap your benefits. So he flat called. So what happens on the flop? He checked. What sometimes could happen is he would check and I may check behind since I have such a big hand. But you know what? I'm trying to keep up the same kind of pattern as I was using before. You know, they check, I continuation bet, and I'm going to hope that he puts me on nothing at this point and just come over the top of me. And maybe he'd had enough of me. I mean, this is the second chip leader. If I can bust him somehow, wow! I mean, this is a really, really big opportunity for me. So so he checks, I bet, he calls, and the board comes 3. He checks. Now I bet 20,000, and he pushes all in. Okay. This is exactly what we want. I have to believe that we have the best hand right here. With any luck, we got him to maybe he has ace 10 or something like that. But we've been splashing around pretty marginal hands, and there is no way that he's going to put me on queens here. So he can have a lot of hands to make this play, and he's going to be in big, big trouble. Yep. Oh, what a beautiful thing. He had ace 10. Now, this is the closest thing that I got to lucky, so to speak, in this tournament. And this is an incredibly lucky occasion that, number one, I had queens. Then I also had someone who had enough to call. He had ace 10, which is a good enough hand probably to call with. And then we got an absolutely perfect flop. We flopped a 10 where he had ace 10. He had to think he had the best hand. And it's also one of the reasons why those ace rag hands are pretty nasty, because even if you flop, a tremendous flop for you, you could still be dead if you're facing any type of razor. So, I don't blame him for making that play with ace 10, with that kind of board, and we got very lucky. So, at this point, the tournament, as far as I am concerned, is over. Okay? We're heads up. The blinds are 1,500, 3,000. He's only got about 10 times the pot. And I got 271,000. And as far as I'm concerned, this hand is over. I am going to be probably raising or re-raising almost every hand. And even if he ends up sucking out on me and doubling up a few times, it's just not going to matter, right? And when you have a big stack like this, you just use it and you just pound, pound, pound. So let's just see the carnage. It lasts about 10 hands. It involves kind of a suck out too. Get one walk. He really can't afford to give us a walk here, can he? King 8, just push him all in, just completely throttle him. What's he calling with? He's going to have to make a stand eventually. King 6, he knows what's happening. You know what I mean? He's going to have to catch a big hand or really start pushing it all in every hand. I mean, giving walks is not really a wise decision here. I have ace jack. Just keep pushing. No need to get cute and minimum raise. He's only got 37,000. I mean, to minimum raise him is almost to pot commit him anyway. 2, 6, 8. All right. So now we got queen 10. Get another walk. I mean, this shouldn't take that much longer. All right, he raises, we fold, and he shows ace 3. I mean, that's how desperate he is. I mean, it's like he wants me to believe that he's only going to be making this play, only be pushing with ace 3, or only with an ace or better. So we have a pair of 10s, got no action. I thought that was going to be good. 3, 6 doesn't matter. Just push them all in. At this point, you're just all in every hand pretty much. And if he sucks out on you, he sucks out on you. But this is exactly the way you have to play this. Now, before I even go on, I mean, I was just a little glib about it in saying that this tournament is over. But obviously, things can happen. But from a strategic perspective, it is over. Okay, you've got yourself in a position where if you just exercise the slightest bit of technique, you're just going to kill this person. I mean, it's just from a strategic perspective, it is over. I mean, what you have to be doing now is pushing all in every single hand where it gets folded to you. Okay, and you also have to have some knowledge of when you should be calling his all-ins, but that's for another day. And the reason why I'm so confident at this stage is not necessarily because I have all these chips, although I do, but in a weird way, even if I were the short stack here, I would feel quote-unquote comfortable because I would know that at this point I would be unable to make a mistake. This guy's already made several by giving me walks. But what you have to learn to do, and we're going to go have a lecture probably specifically on this, is you have to know all these endgame techniques and all of these all-in or fold numbers cold, so that if you ever, God forbid, get to this point by sifting, by going through all these players, by overcoming incredible adversity, having a small chip stack, you have to know how to close these things, and you have to know that you have the confidence to close them also. I mean, I use this analogy. There was a period of time where in the chess world, the Russian chess players were much better than the Americans, and some people believed that the reason why that was because of the way they learned the game. And my friend Elon, who excellent tremendous chess player, excellent poker player too. I mean, he would tell me that what would happen is the people from America would learn all these complex openings, like all these different fancy combinations of opening moves. Meanwhile, the Russians would spend all their time just learning the endgames. Was just learning all the variations of the rook and pawn endgames, and they would know all the endgames cold. So that, and imagine the confidence that instills in a player, knowing that when whatever else happens, as long as you get to that endgame, you know you're a huge favorite because you know you're going to make every correct decision. And that's what you kind of have to do in poker. You have to learn all of these endgame techniques before worrying about, whether you should be playing ace 10 and level 1 for a raise or something like that. You got to learn all of these endgame techniques before worrying about getting to the endgame, because what use is getting to the endgame if you don't know how to execute? So again, from a strategic perspective, this is a done deal. So let's see what ends up happening. Let's see how much longer this lasts. Queen 3. All right, finally wakes up with something. 8-10. All right, so we know that he knows that he's got a problem, and he's basically resigning. Okay, he's saying, "Hey, fine, I just call, just enough," and he catches. All right, he catches. What did he catch? An 8. Again, maybe I suck at it anyway. Maybe I catch a spade. Not to be. All right, no big deal. All right, absolutely nothing has changed. I mean, we're still just going to continue to throttle him. Got a 5-1 chip lead. I mean, this is still absolutely no problems here. Now we got ace jack. We get a walk. Damn it! Wish you could have just raised or something. You know, 9-4. We're gonna raise there. I mean, we could have put them all in too, but the raise is fine. I mean, he's now got enough chips where we don't necessarily have to put them all in, but we're still gonna exert pressure pretty much every hand. One day we'll wake up with something. Yep, we got 7s, and he pushes. Easy call here, and he has 4s, and this is over. Okay. So this tournament, I think, is a very, very good tournament to start off with as far as the PokerXFactor experience, because it does show a lot of different things about winning tournaments. Number one is how to try to stay out of trouble early. We went over what to do when you have adversity, both from a technical, tactical, and kind of a psychological perspective. These tournaments are not over, especially if you have enough fold equity in your hand. I mean, if I can stress anything, I would stress that, especially when you get short, you play not the other stacks, but you just play the structure. You play the blinds, and as long as you can, keep your stack okay relative to the blinds, you're going to be in okay shape. You just keep surviving, and if you keep surviving, the breaks will eventually come your way, and you'll end up building a chip stack. And then what happened was we built a chip stack really from the ground up, and then when we were able, then we got right through the middle game by playing very, very solid poker, and then once we got some chips, we were able to just completely turn up the heat. And it's a real good good primer in gear changing, in shifts in psychology, and I think this is a pretty good start. And I appreciate everybody participating in this multi. For those of you that don't, I forgot what I cashed for in this one. I mean, it was a couple $1,000s. It wasn't a big deal, but and we're gonna have a lot more videos of bigger type tournaments and stuff. But I thought this one was pretty instructive.